Hey, Courtney and Stan. Hey, Courtney, how are you?
My kid like
Hey, Dan, we'll get started in just a
kind of
minute.
in the same.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Which is probably for the case for a few more months. We'll start in a few minutes.
Celebration Board meeting to order. Time now is 2:04 p.m. Before we get started, I'll take a quick roll. Today we have Martha Byer.
Here.
Elizabeth Freese.
Here.
Jeremy Toth.
Here.
Mark Cornell.
Here.
And we have, what else we got? Mike Reedon here. There he is. We got Ben Swamigan is here, present.
Yay, first meeting.
Okay. Let the record show we do have Dan Castle on the meeting.
Who's full participant? Yeah.
He's a full participant. We also have Jan Mathis joining us here from BOCES.
Just remote.
Just remote. And Ms. Darby here from Erie Community, or Erie West Library. I was going to say Erie Community College, but that's not right. We do have a quorum in the room. And with that, I'd like to take a motion to approve the minutes from April. If everybody had a chance to review them. Motion. Motion by Mike Reed, seconded by Ms. Byer.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. There is no report of the chair, so we can go right into number 3, the executive director's report.
Okay, hi, everybody. Okay, we have lots of updates. I'll go first and then Matt can jump in and then go into his report, which is separate. It's not attached to your regular packet. So let's go into Connect All. So Connect All, we submitted our first milestone reimbursement. That of course got kicked back, which I guess happens all the time. Today is our response to that, and they hope to have everything wrapped up, they told us on our Today call, by the end of next week. So we're hoping for our first reimbursement, however long that process takes from the approval of the end of next week. So
How much is that for?
$650,000.
And did they say why?
Why they kicked it back?
Yeah.
There's a list of probably 50 items that they want clarification on, changes on. We had an invoice issue that we had to change. They wanted different contracts. I mean, things that we think we had done, but they wanted something different. But from what I understand from our colleagues across the state, our process for reimbursement seems to be going much smoother and faster then. So I'm not even going to complain yet on that. So, we are still meeting with them on a weekly basis on Tuesdays at 11:15. That's been going well. The big news is that late last week, we received an email from Connect All stating that Treasury is going to start reviewing requests for extensions to the MIP funding, or to the ARPA for the MIP funding for the projects, which is huge because what I was originally going to come here and tell you was that we had an unbelievable meeting with Connect All, where they basically told us, this is prior to what I just said to you, that they're not going to probably be granting extensions. And if we don't have every single piece, even if one connection was not done by December 31st, we have to give the entire $8 million back. And that would include everything we've spent. So then we were going to have to start adjusting. Maybe we talked about this in the last meeting, but we were going to have to start adjusting our project, which meant we would need to find a date in which we would do that. We would find what low-hanging fruit could be cut off, what we wanted to take off of the project. It was sounding to be like kind of a nightmare. So the very good news is that at the end of last week, they are going to start considering extensions. The good news is our project qualifies for those extension reasons and for several reasons, but the one main one is the utility delays, which we're going to talk extensively about today.
Who determines if the extension is good? What bureaucrat is?
Yeah, that's a great question. It sounds to me like CAO has to submit all of the New York State extensions under one.
CAO?
Connect All, sorry.
Oh.
So New York State will submit all of the New York State extensions as one, but then they get approved individually and potentially with different timeframes.
But by whom?
The Treasury, federal government Treasury, which is a little scary in itself.
Yeah.
Yes, because we're in New York State.
Yeah, it's something I've heard traction about this.
I don't know if it's specific
Maybe it's
Remember,
only to
it-
these states and not the gaggle of hundreds of other
Yes,
municipalities?
I think it's specific to broadband, potentially, because of the massive utility delays, and it's not just in New York State, across the country. Yeah. So I haven't heard in any of our conversations, which we just had one actual conversation, but even like talking to other colleagues across, I haven't heard any reason to believe that we wouldn't be granted, but I do agree that I'm worried that they may look at the individual states, and democratic states may not be extended.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
for sure, that's exactly what they're gonna do. So,
Just with that said.
it doesn't matter what the law says or.
And that, yeah, with that said, we are going to apply for an extension, but it is our full intention to have this project done by the end of the year. But we need to apply for it because we'll talk about the utility delays coming up in a second. So anyway, so it's kind of good news, kind of like, I don't know, but it gives us something to apply for, which we didn't have before, and we were looking at having to cut off some of our project. That's a good follow-up question, though, that we didn't ask, is if the Treasury denies our extension. We need to go back to where we're gonna be cutting off some of the project, we felt like we weren't gonna get it done. So here's, well, I'll go. So anyway, affordable housing grant, we had talked about that for a couple of years. That's part of the ARPA funding through the Connect All office. There's two particular ISPs that are applying for the use of that funding within our area. Both have reached out to us several different times to give them quotes for us to do the build on the affordable housing. One we're moving forward with, one I think is still kind of interested. We have said yes, and we've given quotes to that in particular ISP, but with the notion that we don't guarantee anything done by the end of the year. And so anyway, I just wanted to keep everyone up to date that the affordable housing grant build is still on our plate. I believe this group approved a proposal for a couple of them, but a long time ago. That portion of the funding and those projects have been much slower than the MIP grant that we're working on and getting through to their GDA signed, but they are utilizing ErieNet for potentially two of those builds, but definitely one. We're kind of in the IRU signing phase. So we'll keep you updated as that moves through. The other big news, and this is where I want to, Matt is probably gonna, actually I'll skip that for a minute. Also an update on the NFTA. I received word from NFTA on the Bailey Avenue project that because they don't have like a example IRU from a municipality that they can piggy bank off of, their attorneys feel they have to go out for RFP, not for sole source. And so ErieNet will be responding to that RFP once it comes out. So that will be a process, which is fine. So let's go back. So the PSC complaint. So this is no surprise to this group. We are having utility delays, and we've had utility delays. Connect All office has been assisting in some of the delays, mainly on the MIP portion of our build, but they have actually been helping us through some of the backbone because we keep explaining to them that our MIP project is very reliant on our backbone being completed. They had made a suggestion that we contact the PSC and send them a formal complaint. So I did that a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And basically explaining to them that we have significant delays in particular areas with both NYSEG and National Grid. National Grid has the pre-existing conditions issues that we've talked about. Even if it gets past that, we have areas where field supervisors are required and it's just stuck. We had payment issues on their side of things, which has been worked out. But we had significant delays that are not fixed. On the NYSEG side of things, there's a process called an NRA where they have to do outages, and they have to have their staff present at these outages. And they only have a certain amount of money to do these outages and a certain amount of time to do these outages. And it's been a problem for us for about 1.5 years, 2 years. At this point, NYSEG has completely shut that process down, which has stalled our project completely on the NYSEG side. So where we are ready to build and put up fiber, we cannot do so because we can't get NICEAG to schedule anything, nothing,
When's the last time we were able to schedule anything with NICEAG?
months ago. Maybe 6+ months would be my guess. Maybe with the exception of a few.
We've scheduled some make-ready that goes around the outage. An outage is normally when we're doing a pole replacement, and if there's transformers, generally there are, or transformer lines, you have to deactivate those circuits to the nearest substation, and that requires a NICEAG resource, not an ErieNet resource, at the substation and at the construction site where the pole is being replaced. And that all has to happen in the shortest period of time possible. They won't assign the resources for that. There's a plan forward, but it's still being approved by NICEAG executive management. So until we can do those pole replacements, we might have 80% of the make-ready done on that application, but we can't complete it. And we can't hang the fiber because we don't have a contiguous segment. And so,
Matt, can PSC authorize NICEAG and give them, here's a new chunk of downtime?
the PSC fined NICEAG and the parent company, Iberdrola,
Yes.
in the last 2 years, they fined them $25 million because their planned outages exceeded.
Right, but maybe we know somebody at the PSC and can see if they can.
I mean, they could, yeah, NICEAG could benefit from a relaxation of those fines, but they haven't done.
Well, and
It's a money
we,
issue for them.
well, and going back to my original comment is we did submit a formal PSC complaint. It was responded to immediately. We have Connect All kind of partnering with us on this complaint. All of a sudden, we kind of started to see some grid movement in little areas. And so we thought, okay, maybe they've had this conversation. And then PSC scheduled a call with ErieNet and Connect All. We had that call last week. And I did copy in the county executive's office on that complaint, just so they're aware of what's going on and just for that visibility. They did not join us on the call, but I can tell you that, I mean, Matt, I think you may even ask that question, if there could be something that the PSC can do to help us through this. And they weren't giving a straight answer on the NICEAG piece. They had more information on the grid side of things than they did on NICEAG.
I was just curious, why is NICEAG getting done by outages, but grid doesn't seem to have an issue? And I think it's just business practices that Iberdrola has done.
I guess my suggestion would be like a letter of support, find the technical language, write what the process is. The letters of support for PSC granting NICEAG additional outage windows for this good government purpose, right? To better serve New York State residents, have letters come from the mayor, the county executive in support of that.
I think it's also a NICEAG staffing issue. What this boils down to is we need a qualified person, a NICEAG qualified person at the substation, and a second person at the pole replacement, talking to one another, saying, we've deactivated the transformer, please shut the circuit off. We've moved the transformer, please turn the circuit back on.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. 10-minute, 15-minute transfer. To alleviate half of that staffing is they're gonna allow our contractors to communicate at the pole replacement. They have to take some training, it's not a difficult thing, but they have to get a training certification and then they can self-perform that. So that takes half of the resources away from NICEAG. That's good. It's also nothing new, they did this a couple years ago too. But the plan itself hasn't been approved by executive management and therefore they won't schedule any of this. We have 18 segments that are completely stalled by these NRA issues.
18 segments, meaning how many miles? Roughly,
Probably close to 50.
50 miles of stalled. Because,
That's just NICEAG.
yeah. Is this a new issue? I feel like I haven't heard of NRA before.
I've called them outages in the past, NRAs, but this happened first, year-end '24. And, they just put the brakes on it. And then after New Year's, the budget reset for the outages. And then the same thing happened again, year-end '25. You go back and look at my reports, there are outages then. But the clock didn't seem to reset this year. I think because they got hit with another $11 million at the beginning of the year for last year's outages. So it's a money and staffing issue for NYSEG. And then Grid has its own staffing issues. Which we can get into that now, or might as well talk about it now.
Yeah.
The Grid, it's taken way too long for them to complete the make-ready design portion. That's where we go out, we pay for the surveys. Our engineer that ErieNet pays for, who's Grid certified, puts together the whole make-ready plan. And then that has to get reviewed and approved by Grid. And then it has to go into what they call their storms database. It's a GIS database. And at the end of that whole make-ready design process, they give us a make-ready package. We call it an MRP. When we get that Grid make-ready package, ErieNet then gets quotes from our 9 different grid contractors, and we award each of those segments. And that's when the actual pole work, the physical pole work starts. And so we had applications that went into Grid in '24 that are just now coming out. So that's been a source of delay. They've added staff to their GIS department, and it's improved. I mean, we've been seeing packages come out,
But mainly MIP,
MIP, yeah.
because the state is pushing the MIP project, so we feel that our backbone project has been put on delay, which of
But
course.
in the
we vote.
last 2 weeks, we did get 5 MRP packages for the backbone project. It's good, they owe us 20 more. And that just starts the make-ready construction. And then once you get into construction, Grid's got problems in that with NYSEG, if there's pole replacement work, you gotta move lines up and down. We pay for the work that our application is causing. But if it's a prior condition or a third-party attacher like Spectrum or Crown, if they're in violation, then our contractors do all that work. And then we bill NYSEG for that work. And then NYSEG chases down the Spectrum and Crown. We talked about that. And that's the plus of NYSEG. Grid doesn't do it that way. They won't let our contractors do those moves. Then they chase down Spectrum and Crown. Last thing they want to do is hustle for us, right? We're just adding
Spectrum.
another, either one, they're both competitors. And it's just money that they have to spend, and it's crews they have to deploy. So it's incumbent upon Grid to enforce that. So we have to go through Grid, and to a certain extent, we have to go through Grid to get Verizon to do it. And they're not very good at that. And the PSC is very reluctant to take anyone's cable off a pole. And you just think of that, I mean, they'll fine them. But, neighborhood lost their Spectrum service because the PSC told them to make the cable. It's an ugly situation, right? So they don't do that. And so we wait and we complain. We get a little bit of movement and we complain some more. And all of that is just incrementally, month after month, been dogging us for 2 years.
We brought this same complaint to the PSC in, what was it, November of '24?
November of '24. met with the commissioner.
We met with the commissioner of PSC with these exact same complaints. Two of the same people that were on that call were on our call last week. So, I mean, we're starting to see some movement. NISAG is the exception to that. I mean, PSC is aware of the plan that NISAG is putting together for there to be more resources out there. But we heard about this plan 5 weeks ago, and there's been no communication to anybody about how the plan is being implemented, what the time frame of that plan is. And every time a week goes by, we are now to the point where we have to push our construction out, and to the point where if that pushes the construction out, we can't complete, obviously. So you're gonna see today that we've had to move our time frame of construction. And every time that happens, we lose customers, we lose, deals. And so it's insanity. But I wanna assure the board that I do feel that on the side of ErieNet and ECC, we are doing everything we can and trying to get the resources needed and going to the people to say this is what's going on. ConnectAll has been a huge help. And I don't think that National Grid is treating our backbone project the way that National Grid is, or the way that they're treating our MIP, because MIP is just, there's no comparison to how long it's taking our MIP work to go through compared to the backbone.
Well, it's also
But we're making them aware
34
of that.
miles versus.
Right. But we're making them aware of that, and I think that the state is understanding that our backbone project is completely, or the MIP project is completely reliant on the backbone completion. And so they're helping us there as well. The extension helps. The only money that we have, I just want to remind the group, that has a time restriction on it is the MIP funds. We don't have restrictions on the backbone, but again, we are applying for the extension, and our sole purpose is this whole year is to get this project built by the end of the year, and we will do everything we can. But we have not had good news in terms of movement over the last 2 months that we thought we would be having. I mean, we have crew, it's becoming an issue with which is another reason we would qualify, is we're gonna start having problems getting our CLW crews to be able to do the work. They're taking other work. And so there's gonna be, if there's one storm, we're gonna have problems getting crews. So there are like these other issues that will come along if we can't get this resolved fast enough. But I wanna reassure the board that we are working on it every single day, and sitting in on calls and having daily or weekly calls. And I now get all this, I'm seeing what's coming through on the grid side, and I'm able to see where it's moving and where it's not, which is very helpful. And the ECC is putting together reports for us on a more weekly basis so that I can see movement. And we meet weekly now on construction updates separate from our Monday meetings. So we're doing what we can. It's just frustrating because it's all this stuff that's beyond our control. And that's very annoying. Before Matt gets in, I just want to, did you have something to add?
Well,
You're gonna do your report, yeah. I just want to add before Matt goes that we are going to schedule an audit and finance committee meeting for June to just go over the accounts payable. I'll resend it out to the committee, so you have it again, but if you could just review that, and if you have any suggestions, I think there was one suggestion that came out immediately before, I think Elizabeth, maybe you made that. I don't know, are you on an audit committee? Yeah,
Yes.
audit, you made something that we changed, but anyway, I want to go through that because we're gonna have to implement that, because one day we're gonna actually have a system that we have to start billing, and we want to have that in place. Other than that, Matt?
well, I think we covered most of the first couple of pages here. But the ramifications of these delays, they're gonna put in writing if that helps anyone, what the specifics are. What's a pre-existing condition, what's an IMR, what's an NRA. But if you look at on page 2, there's a chart, and these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are 8 out of 22 construction segments that are at risk because of those 18 NRA holes. The blue column is, so we had expected some, on the first 4, we expected work to start in June and complete in July. Well, these things are, at this point, you know, and unless NYSEG tells us something tomorrow, which hopefully we'll hear something by the end of the week, but they've been saying that for 4 weeks. The next is, we think we're already in the orange. We've already, probably these 8 are getting pushed out 30 days. We're gonna try to recover that 30 days, but, you know, we can be stalled so long, and the schedule's gotta reflect it.
And one thing I want to point out is the Bill Stadium. We're really supposed to have that complete by the beginning of August, and that is a PSAP. And we're concerned that we're not gonna be able to get that done.
It's
Well, it's not a
it's
PSAP.
Well, we're calling it a PSAP.
First
We're not taking
response.
911 calls or anything like that, so.
It's a PSAP in the form of our grant.
Right.
And, they did want it in and done before the stadium opened, which is like the 12th, or what is the first? There's a
Well, there's a
Preseason.
first string, second string exhibition thing
Yeah, I
in
think it's August 12th.
early August.
It's August 12th.
And, you know, and as far as Sean Hanley, the Bills IT director, he's not dependent on ErieNet fiber for, you know, he's got what he needs. I have alerted Dan Everett, at EMS that, you know, we expect our fiber to reach the stadium, in July, and are you gonna be ready for it? Haven't heard yet, but I'll have to.
I mean, even if the fiber's there and the backbone's not installed at the raft building, Dan's just gonna be sitting out there with a piece of fiber.
Yeah, we're still
It doesn't
thinking the
connect to us,
raft.
It doesn't do him any good if we get it out there.
Absolutely, and it,
So,
and like I said, we wanted that work, to finish in July, so people would have, you know, at least 30 days to
Right.
fire up stuff. And that 30-day window is shut on us. Our priority build is still out of the raft building, over to 45 Elm and south to the VTC co-location. That's one of our carrier hotels, where all the ISPs have co-location facilities. We own BOCES of circuit from 350 Main out to VTC. And then from VTC, we build out through West Seneca, Orchard Park to the Bill Stadium. That leg, we thought was gonna be completed early June. And until that NRA is released, we're stalled. There's a second path back from Bill's, second path back from VTC. That also has an NRA, which has our construction stalled. So it's and we don't care which NRA gets cleared first, we'll move. And that's what we're waiting. So,
And we've given them the priority at NYSEG, saying that these have to move. They don't care.
you know, a month ago, I think I reported 110 miles of fiber build. And we had an anemic 5 miles as of last Thursday. We're up to 115. Our fiber construction company, CLW, is chomping at the bit. They want to do 30 to 60 miles a month. Last Thursday, we released about 4 miles of fiber in Grand Island for them to start this week. Like I said, what we are doing is we're prioritizing all of our underground work. We don't really pull the fiber until we have the pole line and the underground dips to get around ugly poles, to come back to the pole line. You know, that whole pathway has to be cleared, and then CLW comes in. And wherever CLW can hang the messenger cable, that's that metallic galvanized steel cable that you wrap your fiber to. So that messenger cable's going up wherever we can, and we're up to not quite 144 miles. As of today, we're probably more like 146 miles of strand that's up there. And we're ready to pull across Grand Island Bridge. We told the underground contractor we want the Elm Street built first, and then they'll move out to Grand Island Bridge and pull that to meet up with the fiber that we're already pulling on the island. So we're getting a little bit of construction wherever we can eke out work orders to keep CLW busy. They're trying to keep their core CLW people engaged, but the labor pool that they pull from the union halls and from the other subcontractors. And they had 2 other crews lined up for June, and they told them, take some other work. They were able to get a commitment to have it come back in July. So this is the real impact to the delays. We can make it up if we get through these obstacles. Then it comes back into our control as to how many crews that we can deploy out in the field. I think we talked about everything else. I put, again, it's fine print here, but the bold segments for construction are the same 8 that I identified that we pushed out 30 days for. MIP, we really haven't started any real lateral construction for MIP, but we will in June. And that's good work too, because that's, they're not just MIP locations, but anywhere that we can put CLW crews on bringing the fiber into the buildings. And then we leave a spool out by the curb, out by the pole, and then they'll pick it up on the backbone when the make ready clears. And we have 82 MIP, and then we have about 170 buildings that we need to reach by the end of the year. So we're trying to get that work done in advance. Mike, we made some progress on the managed network services. We do need Kevin Hughes.
Right, yeah.
I know he's not your staff.
No, I'll have to get hold of Danny to put some pressure on getting them to respond because they seem to be.
Yeah, I understand why he isn't, because I believe there's a whole new radio system initiative.
Yeah, but that's for capital funding for next year, right?
Well, there's some this year, but.
Oh, some this year, but that shouldn't be tied
There's an
up.
RFP out, and I don't know if he's answering questions or.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy, but if we can get Kevin to get the meeting scheduled, I can leave him alone. I'll work with him over.
All right, I'll call Danny this afternoon.
And of course, the county IRU includes the MNS exhibit, and we're all anxious to get that wrapped up. And I think you're getting pretty close to
Yes,
that.
did Buffalo beat the county on something?
You did. But we are close on that? Okay.
Sure.
I have it on our June agenda.
Plan is to get over to the legislature soon, so.
Okay. Do you think there's a possibility that'll be done in June at the? Because then don't they go on like some kind of summer recess?
In August.
In August.
Okay.
Is there gonna be any problem of us doing construction on county buildings without the formal agreement in place?
No.
Because that's more of a
permit issue.
As long as you have the proper permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I would think that was, because you're trying to install a new manhole or something outside the
Sure.
rat building and
Right.
where county is requiring the proper permits, I'm assuming you have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, they haven't been provided to us yet. But yeah, as long as you have the proper permitting, then we should be fine. We should start construction anyways, because someone's tearing up the streets on Church and Franklin and and Pearl, so I mean, it's a perfect opportunity to be destroying stuff.
Yeah, that's
Do it.
that is actually something we're chasing down, because we want to get in right at the same time.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've been, for the past week and a half, their utilities, what they're doing out there, it's not ErieNet related.
Yeah, I just said other utilities.
Yeah, but they're opening the street up, and
Yeah.
once they repave that, they're not gonna be all that happy to see us come in and dig up the street again.
Yeah, always coordinating.
I would like to add good news at the end of that report. We do have another very large, ISP that's interested in potentially the whole system. So that's a couple, huh?
I said very large.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how big, they're
And we
large.
think that affordable housing program that has ARPA funds behind it, the extension will help them, and perhaps they'll circle back and we told them, we'll build it for you, but we're not guaranteeing 12/31.
Yeah.
But if we can go out to 6/31, I still won't guarantee it, but it's 100% easier to make that date.
So this is in addition to any of the other ISPs we talked about, and this is brand new. And they're looking at, potentially utilizing our whole network.
We gotta get it.
But we need a network. The good news on that side of things is the with the exception of one ISP, like, they don't need it tomorrow, right? There's one that would like it sooner than later, but, all right, Thomas.
All right, folks, thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Matt, for the update. Moving on to number 4 on our agenda, we did not have any committees meet this month. Did not have any unfinished business, so we'll go into our resolutions for this afternoon. And we'll dive right in. Resolution 2026-12, resolution of the local government corporation authorizing the executive director to enter into a proposal with USI Insurance for the procurement of insurance on behalf of the local development corporation. I'll take a motion. Motion by Mike Breeden, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vince Swankamp, first, second ever. Discussion.
It was just a small increase. Next year, we're gonna go out for a full, RFP on the insurance. But USI has come in significantly lower than anyone we've gone out for quotes in the past. I think it was like less than 5%. It was, I mean, I don't want to say insignificant, but it was good for insurance terms of increases.
Okay, any questions about the insurance? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carries, thank you. And if nothing else?
Can I just ask, going back to I guess I don't have a firm understanding of our strategy between now and the next board meeting to sort of fix this problem. And I don't know how to articulate to the county executive what we're gonna do. So that,
We are pressuring every way we can to get the utilities to move.
yeah, but what, I mean, what is that? Calling and yelling?
We're hopeful that the PSC will add a little more initiative behind, particularly NICEAG.
The complaint, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, so for example, let me be real, so I texted a friend, Ben and I, who's on the PSC.
I'm a friend.
You are too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Thomas. Well, we're all friends. But if he returns my call, which I assume he will, I don't know what I'm asking him.
I'll forward you the email of
Okay.
our complaint.
Okay,
That will give you all of the examples that you need, right down to the application numbers
okay.
of where we're struggling.
And I'm sure the county exec won't like this mitigation, but one of it is that we're trying to protect the grant money by filing for the extension. Again, we don't want to have to drop locations or put the grant at risk because we didn't get to 2 or 3 locations. We don't want that claw back.
Right, but it feels, I mean, based on what I'm worried about is that June comes and goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we
July,
lose the
August.
workforce, and it's not just a month delay, it's a construction season delay.
Right. And storm season, hurricane.
Right, whatever,
season starts in August.
And we're a year, when we're into 2027 having these same meetings, so I guess that's what I'm.
But is it fair to say ultimately, I don't think my full blame is on the utilities more than it is on the PSC's stance with utilities recently. So there are a lot of pressure on affordability, right? And on also like delivering customer service in their mind. So the pressure on the utilities to not increase rates to control price increases, which is putting pressure on them to have less staffing, and they're terrified of these fees for the outages, right? So even though I'm sure they're not perfect, it's the regulatory environment to a large degree that is putting them in this position. Is that a fair articulation?
I think it is, and I think within the state of New York, because of their ARPA money at risk, they're hearing that.
They, the PSC.
PSC
Okay.
is hearing that from the state, and then they go and to the utilities. And this is why Treasury is doing the extensions, is because the grid, the national grid, not our national grid.
Yes.
But the
Small and small.
The USA
Not
electric
national.
grid
Yeah.
is stressed,
Right.
and everybody knows it. And so these issues that we're having in Western New York are true of all of New York, it's true of the whole Northeast, it's true of, better part of the United States. And
It's stressed, and the solution is
Yeah.
we need to raise rates to build additional infrastructure. Like Great Cancel, they're gonna build an enormous, like $1 billion plus substation over by the Tesla plant. And that got killed because PSC wouldn't authorize that spending. And now it's turned into, they're looking at building like dozens of smaller substations across the city to cover up that gap, right? But
we've moved to underground wherever we could, without totally busting the budget. But when you duck underground, then, we spent time and energy to start off on the pole line. Now we're pulling that off and going around the pole line to avoid exorbitant make-ready costs and more than anything, the schedule. But as soon as you go underground and you're in state right away, now we gotta go back and get another permit. And the state's better, they're turning them around, 60
That's DOT.
days.
That's DOT, and that was from pressure. I mean,
Yep.
eventually,
Yep.
these calls and these.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But we are doing that, like,
Right.
I mean, on a weekly, sometimes daily
Right.
basis, we are reaching out to someone
Right.
who needs to be moving quicker. I think it's great, I sent you guys the details, so you'll have that when you have that conversation, but I also don't think we should skip over the fact that most of the utilities, NICEAG and Grid included, are utilizing this funding to replace their aging existing infrastructure. And so if this money wasn't state funded or federally funded, they may not have requested that pole be replaced because they're just using the situation to their advantage, which is costing us time and delays, and I just think we should always highlight that.
Time to pass a local law and increase their taxes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I figure Buffalo and Erie County can just for those two organizations.
Well, they're already raising their rates.
And even that is a 6-month to 1 year fix. You're asking, what can we do between now and July?
Right.
June.
right?
Yeah, I ask that question every day.
There's aggressive tactics if ErieNet was a private broadband provider. There's rules that are bent. We're not doing that because we're not a private
But
organization.
we can't absorb the fines.
We're a municipal organization.
Ben wants to do it anyway. I can sense from over here, he wants to bend the
About
rules.
40 minutes ago, I was gonna actually motion to go to executive session and suggest.
Bending rules.
We're not in executive session.
No, I know.
But I mean,
So don't suggest anything. We've had this conversation.
that opens up a whole nother ball of works that could come back detrimentally.
You mean hanging, without, like everybody else?
Yeah. Boy, Mark used to do it.
If you give me Jeremy a truck.
I wasn't
Buying some more.
In terms of the current PSC commissioners, are they majority rule appointees at this point?
You know, I don't know that. Who we met with,
It was a new commissioner, and
We have
the
a-
new commissioner wasn't on the call.
wasn't on the call. We're working with Troy,
Smith.
Troy Scripture. And he's who the state wants us to be our contact for PSC.
I was just thinking, calling Bonnie or Mo.
Yeah. It wasn't.
I mean, the state is mostly, in terms of this broadband project, they're mostly invested in assisting with the MIP portion because of those time restrictions. But I think MIP finally understands, and they are assisting that MIP project for us doesn't happen without the backbone, which is much different than what they're dealing with across the state, because ours are, our arms, connections from our backbone to these anchor institutes. And so
I mean, as long as
They're
we're
not-
installed there at these new MIP sites, I mean, we don't have to be energized, do we?
no, but if an ISP came in, they would have to be able to be connected within 15 days.
Basically, I have to be able to send an OTDR trace. I have to be able to send a signal from the Bill's first responder station back to the RAF. Because, or maybe more importantly, back to 45L. We have to show that that's a continuous, can't have one end that doesn't have a completed other end. So we don't have to have the entire backbone built, but by the time you are 82 MIP locations, they are
Pretty
kind
well
of
spread out.
spread out throughout the whole backbone. So we can live with a few segments as a lower priority build, but everything's a priority at this point.
The good news is, there were probably 3 or 4 months ago when I'd sit here and say, anything that we're doing isn't really helping. I do think, since the PSC complaint went in, we are definitely seeing movement from grid. We're getting told that there's gonna be movement from NICEAG, but we are physically seeing a change in grid. It's not 100%, but it's something. Like 3 months ago, I would have said, no, we're still stuck in, nothing's
I
happening.
mean, and this is what we went through with the permitting process.
Right.
Yes,
Year and a half
yep, it took us, how many phone calls? Yeah.
Yeah, NICEAG.
The difference now too is the state's now concentrating on the permit process as well.
NICEAG was our poster child for utility procedures.
It was.
Right, and then this wall, yes.
All right, all hearts and minds are clear.
Sure.
Our next meeting is June 16th, 2026. I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved by Ben Smollett.
Second.
Seconded by Mike Freeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.